We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Tesamad Aleph and Mesechet Yevamos Daf 79a. On the previous Amud, the Gemara said that David HaMelech inquired from HaKadosh Baruch Hu as to why there was a famine. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu said there were two things. Number one, Shaul did not have a proper eulogy. And number two, there was a crime, so to speak, against the Nesinim, because when Shaul killed out the city of Nov, Ir HaKohanim, so they used to supply the Nesinim with food and water, and so therefore it was as if he had killed the Nesinim, and so therefore that also was a sin that needed to be atoned for. And so now David HaMelech says, in terms of Shaul HaMelech and the eulogy, Treser Yarchi Shas, it's already been a year, it's already been 12 months since that time. Rashi over here says, Treser Yarchi Shas, Lav Dafka, doesn't mean exactly a year. The Hakar of Litlos and Shnin, who was really like 30 years, Sharei Sof Shnosav Shel David Hay, this was at the end of David HaMelech's time, El Fisha Ein Derech Kavod Lisbon Achar Yud Beis Chodesh, but it's not the proper way to give a hesped after 12 months. Achar Sheniskablu Tanchumen Al HaMeis, after already they've received comfort on the mace. Kedamar b'moed katan, like it says in moed katan, and that's what the Gemara here says. V'lo darchei lemisbedei, it's no longer the proper derech eretz to do a eulogy. How about the other issue? Nesinim, when it comes to the Nesinim, Nikrinu Nefaisinu, let's call them over and we'll try to appease them for this crime that was done against them. And so the Gemara says, Vayikra HaMelech LaGivonim, quotes the Pasuk says, the king called the Givonim, Vayomer Aleim, he said to them, Mo'es Alechem uvama achaper, uvarchos nachlas Hashem. So he said, what can I do? How can we have an atonement to bless the Nachal of Hashem? Vayomru lo, and they said to him, the Givonim said to him, Ein lanu kesef v'zovim sholvim beiso v'ein lanu ish v'gomer. Rashi over here says, Ein lanu litvoa l'shol beiso. We're not claiming anything from Shaul and his household. Lo kesef v'lo zov. We don't want to claim gold or silver. Ki im nefashos. What we want is souls. V'ein lanu lahamis b'shar Yisrael. We don't want to kill anyone else in any other part of Klal Yisrael. Ki im bezaro. We just want the retribution to be against his children. We want to see descendants from his family that they should be killed. And so the Gemara continues quoting the pasuk, Yutan lanu shiva anashim ibanav v'hoknim la'Hashem v'gomer. Says they said in the pasuk, they said that let us hang, give us 7 people from his children, from his descendants, and we'll hang them in front of Hashem. So mefayis v'lo faisinu. So David HaMelech tried to appease them from this course of action, but they were not appeased. Amr, and then he said, Shlosha simonim yesh b'umazu. There are 3 simonim, there are 3 signs when it comes to this nation, meaning to say the Jewish people. Harachmonim v'habaishanim v'gom lechasadim. They're people who have mercy, they're people who have shame, and they're people who do chesed. Rashi over here says, B'umazu, in this nation, Yisrael harachmonim v'hani givonim. So he was saying as follows, when it comes to these givonim, kevan de lo merachmi, since they don't have mercy, einon ru'uyin lidavik bahen, therefore they're not really fit to cling to the Jewish people. Miyad gazar alein David, and that's really when David made that gezer against them not to marry into the Jewish people. L'kach nemar v'hagivonim lo b'mnei Yisrael hema. That's really the source for that pasuk, that the givonim were not considered part of the Bnei Yisrael. That's really where this came from, because again, Klal Yisrael, they have these 3 midos, and this we don't see when it comes to the givonim. And now the Gemara says, Rachmonim, where do we see the idea that Klal Yisrael is Rachmonim, they have mercy? Techsiv, like the pasuk says, V'nasan l'charachamim v'richemcha v'herbecha. So it says this idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you rachamim. By Shanim, where do we see this idea that they are by Shanim? And the Gemara again quotes a pasuk. It says, the pasuk says, Ba'avur tiyeh yiraso al paneim. It says that your fear is going to be on their faces, and that fear is a reference to shame. It's a reference to the fact that Klal Yisrael are by Shanim. Gom lechasadim, where do we see that they do chesed? Like the pasuk says, Laman asher yitzav es bonav es beisov v'gomer. Pasuk says that he's going to instruct his children and his household after him. It's talking about Avram Avinu, and it says over there, V'shamru derech Hashem laso tzedakah Mishpat, talks about the idea that they're gomlei chasadim. And the Gemara continues, Kol sheyesh bo shlosha simonim halolu, anybody who has these 3 signs, so then you know, royally dabik b'umazu, like we said, they are fit to cling to this nation, otherwise they are not fit. And the Gemara continues, Vayikach HaMelech, so the king took as Shnei b'nei Ritzba bas Aya asher yolda l'Shol. He took the 2 sons of Ritzba that were born to Shol, as Armoni v'es Mephibosheth v'es Chameshes b'nei Michal bas Shol. He took Armoni and Mephibosheth and the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Shol, asher yolda la'Adriel ben Barzilai ha'Mechulasi. So he took these individuals. These were the 7 individuals that were going to be hung. And the Gemara continues, Ma'ishna Hani, why were specifically these people chosen? Amar Rav Huna says, Havirim l'fnei Aaron, he passed them before the Aaron, he passed the descendants of Shaul in front of the Aaron. Kol she'Aaron koto lemisa. Anyone who the Aaron held back would be pronounced for death. Kol she'ein Aaron koto l'chaim. Anyone who the Aaron did not hold back, so that person would remain alive. And the Gemara continues, Meisiv Rav Chana bar Katina. Rav Chana bar Katina asks, Vayachmol HaMelech al Mephibosheth ben Yonasan ben Shaul. It says that the king had mercy on Mephibosheth, the son of Yonasan, who was the son of Shaul. So the Gemara says, Shelo Havira, what it means that his mercy was he never passed that individual in front of the Aron. But the Gemara says, V'chimaso panim yesh b'davar, but is he allowed to show favoritism in this situation? And so the Gemara says, Ela shaviro v'kolto, rather what happened was he passed him there, and it did hold him back. Ubikesh alav rachamim, he davened, he had mercy, upalto, and it released him. But the Gemara says, Vakati maso panim yesh b'davar, but still is there favoritism in this matter? And so rather the Gemara says, Ella rather shabikesh rachamim shelo yiklatanu ha'aron. He davened for Mephibosheth that the Aron should not hold him back. And Rashi over here explains, it says, Vayachmol hamelech, that the king had mercy. V'ba Aron tal yamil. So the Gemara's question is, if it's all dependent on the Aron, kaven delo kolto Aron, since the Aron didn't hold him back, ma'ochem loser shel David. So what does it mean that there was mercy from David? Umeshani shelo haviro. So then the Gemara initially answers, he didn't pass him in front of the Aron at all. The Gemara then asks, V'chimaso panim yesh b'davar v'chihayo lo David lisa panim b'dinei nefashos. Is David allowed to show favoritism in a situation of dinei nefashos? Hayo lo lahavir eskul, and he should pass them all in front of the Aron. And the Gemara then continued, V'akati maso panim yesh b'davar, still is there favoritism? Hoel v'kolto Aron, if the Aron did hold him back, lo hayo lo lahames acher ta'acher ta'achtav, he shouldn't kill somebody else instead of him. And the Gemara continues, V'chsiv lo yumsu avos al banim, but doesn't the pasuk say that the fathers shouldn't die on account of the sins of the sons, and vice versa? The sons shouldn't die on account of the sins of the fathers. So how is it over here that Shaul's descendants are paying the price for his crime? And so the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Chia bar Abba says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Mutav shetiakar osachas min haTorah. It is better that one letter be uprooted from the Torah. Ve'al yischalel shem shamayim b'farhesi, and we should not have a chil Hashem that's done in public. And Rashi over here explains, Ve'al yischalel shem shamayim sheyu omos omer, because the nations will say, Ein umazu ru'ili davik, but this is not a nation anyone wants to join. Sharei pashtu yadeim begerim litol mizonoseim. They took these gerim, they took the strangers' food away. V'lo behem nekam, and then they were never able to do vengeance against those who committed the crime. So meaning to say, it was important that there would be retribution in this situation, so there wouldn't be a chilul Hashem. And the Gemara continues, the pasuk says, Vatikach ritzba basayu es hasak vatateu lo latzur. It says that Ritzba basayu, she took the sackcloth and she spread it on the rock. Mitchilas kotzer adnitach mayim aleim in hashamayim, from the beginning of the harvest until the waters came down from the heavens. V'lo nosnof hashamayim lenuach aleim yomam. She didn't allow the birds of the heavens to rest upon the bodies during the day. V'chayasa said alayla, nor the beasts of the fields at night. And so the Gemara says, how is it that these bodies were out in the field for so long? V'aksib, but doesn't the pasuk say, Lo solin nivloso aloetz, you're not allowed to let it stay overnight. You can't have the corpse stay out there. And so the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yotzadok. Rabbi Yochanan says, in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yotzadok, again a similar answer as before, Mutav sheteaker osachas min haTorah. It's better that one letter be uprooted from the Torah. V'yiskadeh shem shamayim b'farhesia. That way there'll be a kiddush Hashem in public. Shayu ovrim v'shavim omen, because the people who would pass by and see these bodies, they would say, Mativon shalela, what exactly did these people do? What happened over here? And the explanation would be, Halalu b'nei malachim, these are the sons of kings, these are princes. Umeasu, and what did they do wrong? Pashtu yadeim begerim gerurim, they attacked, or they did a crime against converts who were converts for the wrong reasons. So Amru, so then people would say, Ein lach umma sheruya lidavik bakazu. There's no nation that is more fitting to cling to than the Jewish people like this nation. Uma b'nei malachim kach, if this is what they do to the sons of kings, b'nei hadiotos alachas kama v'kama, imagine what they do to regular people. Uma gerim gerurim kach, and if this is what they do, in other words, if they give retribution for crimes to victims who were just gerim gerurim, they were just converts who did it for the wrong reasons. So Yisrael alachas kama v'kama, certainly if it would have been Jewish people, certainly look how much they would take care of victims in such a case. Miyad nitosvu al Yisrael meyo v'chamishem elef. Immediately it was added onto Klal Yisrael 150,000 people joined Klal Yisrael after they saw this. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Vahi l'shlomo shivim elef nosei savel u'shmonim elef chotzei bahar. It says that there were 70,000. These were the people that joined Shlomo HaMelech. 70,000 who carried the burdens, and there were 80,000 who were cutting rocks in the mountains. And so the Gemara says, V'dilma Yisrael hava. How do you know who those people or maybe those people were working for Shlomo HaMelech, they were Jewish. How do you know they were people that were added on to Klal Yisrael that converted? And the Gemara says, Lo sal gadaydach, don't think that, because the Pasuk says, Umi b'nei Yisrael lo nasan Shlomo Eved, that from the Klal Yisrael, Shlomo HaMelech didn't take avodim. This was talking about when Shlomo HaMelech was building the Beis HaMikdash, so these people who were helping to build the Beis HaMikdash, carrying the loads, and also cutting stone from the mountains, these were the people that were added on to Klal Yisrael. But the Gemara continues, V'dilma dugzer bi'alma, maybe these people were really just workers for Shlomo HaMelech, they weren't slaves, and so therefore maybe they were Jewish, and Shlomo HaMelech didn't take from Bnei Yisrael to be slaves, but he took workers. And so the Gemara says, Ela rather mehacha from here from the following pasuk, because the pasuk says, Vayisbor Shlomo kol ha'anoshim ha'gerim asher be'eretz Yisrael v'gomer. It says that Shlomo HaMelech counted all the converts in Eretz Yisrael. Vayimtzu me'ah v'chamishim elef. He found them to be 150,000. Vayas mehem shivim elef nosei sabul u'shmonim elef chotzei bahar. It says this idea, he made 70,000 of them carried the burdens, and 80,000 of them were cutting the stones from the mountains. And so therefore, again, you see, these were from the converts to Klal Yisrael. But the Gemara continues, Unesinim David Gazar Aleim. Is this really true that when it came to the Nesinim, the Gezerah that they can't marry into Klal Yisrael came from David HaMelech? Moshe Gazar Aleim, didn't it come from Moshe Rabbeinu? Like the pasuk says, Mechote veitzechat shoev memech. It mentions the chote veitzim and those who draw the water. So those were the same kind of individuals. They existed even in the times of Moshe Rabbeinu. And so the Gemara says, Moshe Gazar lahu dara. Moshe made a gezerah just for that generation. David Gazar l'chuli dara. But David said, no, we're making this gezerah, this decree for all generations. But the Gemara says, Vakati Yehoshua Gazar alai. But still, wasn't it Yehoshua who made this gezerah? Because the pasuk says, Vayitanim Yehoshua bayoma hu chot ve'etzim v'shoav mayim lo edav v'ulam mizbeach Hashem. It says the same idea. Yehoshua made them in that time. He made them chot ve'etzim shoav mayim. They chopped the wood, they drew the water, and they served the mizbeach. And so therefore, again, it seems to be Yehoshua, not David HaMelech. And so the Gemara says, Yehoshua Gazer Bizman Beis HaMikdash Kayim. Yehoshua made the Gezerah, but that Gezerah was only in effect when there would be a Beis HaMikdash. David Gazer Bizman Shein Beis HaMikdash Kayim. David said the Gezerah would be in effect even at times that there's no Beis HaMikdash. And Rashi over here says, Ela mehacha vayispor Shlomo kol anoshim vayimtzu me'ah v'chamishim elef vayas me'em shevim elef savol mechote ve'etzecha midekarinu lechot ve'etzim ba'anpaya. From the fact that they're referring to the chot ve'etzim individually, shma min olam b'chlal Yisrael ninu. You see, they're not part of Klal Yisrael. V'la b'chlal gerim, they're not regular gerim either. Ela avodim, rather they are slaves. V'avodim psulim ninu, and they were slaves who were psulim. V'givonim, they were the givonim. Chot ve'etzim ninu, the givonim were the chot ve'etzim. D'lahachi aksinu Yoshua, that's what Yoshua, he set aside the givonim to be the chot ve'etzim. You see that it came from them. And Rashi over here says, Moshe Gazar Alein Lahu Dora. Moshe made a gezerah for that generation, meaning Al Chot Ve'etzim Shayu B'Yamav, on those who chopped the wood in his times. Vayitanim Yehoshua, then it says Yehoshua did it. Al Mavodim, then you see Yehoshua made them slaves. V'Yehoshua L'Doros Haboim Gazar. He made them slaves for the future generations, for all generations. Techsiv Lo Yicharis Michem Chot Ve'etzim. It says over there, it's never going to cease from you to be Chot Ve'etzim. And then finally it says that David HaMelech expanded it even when there was no Beis HaMikdash, Bezman Beis HaMikdash Kayim. By Yoshua it says Lemizbach Hashem. It was only when there was Beis HaMikdash. David HaMelech added when there was no Beis HaMikdash, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Tes Amud Beis.